Hello, 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 hello. I don't know what happened to my music. Just a second. There we go. How everybody doing today? How everybody doing today? You get my stuff up here. Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday. And I think I'm up now everywhere, so we should be good. How everybody doing? I know I was gone last week. It was birthday week. And I had really good R&R. So I'm excited to be back for us to talk about our next topic. And what did I do for my birthday? I had like a me weekend, y'all. I did just stuff that I wanted to do. I didn't plan anything. I just got up and was like, I think I'm gonna do this today. I think I'm gonna do that today. So that's really what birthday weekend was. I went to the museum. I went and got some food. I, spent some time with my kids. We did some fun stuff this past weekend. So nothing crazy. I'll be headed home back to Philly this weekend. So y'all won't see me next Monday because I have a lot going on this weekend. But yeah, weekend was great. Last weekend was great, and this upcoming weekend's going to be great too. I'm excited. I celebrate my birthday all month. Okay, so y'all gonna see birthday posts all month. Just get ready for it. Okay. But I'm excited for what we're talking about tonight. We did have a poll. I want to say that was maybe 2 weeks ago, where intentional pauses was on the list of things that you all wanted to hear about or talk about. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So I hope that what we talk about is helpful. I hope that it brings some insight. I hope that it sheds some light on just pauses in general and how to take an intentional pause, why we should take intentional pauses. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments what your thoughts are and if it's something that you want to involve in your day-to-day life. If this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I'm a certified mindfulness coach. This channel is all things mindfulness and meditation and mental health. And every week we do a live based off of what you guys ask for in regards to mental health, and we just kind of chat about it. I'll give you guys some affirmations as well as some insight to whatever that actual topic is. Like I said, we just recently voted on intentional pauses, so that's what we're talking about tonight. So I hope this is helpful. This is very interactive, so please talk back to me. Let me know where you're watching from. Hey, Hiru, welcome in. Welcome in. Good to see you. Make sure to like the live if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so that way you can get updates. But this week is you'll probably get one meditation, one or two. We'll see how many I'll be able to post this week before I head out of town. But you most likely get one meditation this week. And then if you are a part of the newsletter, you'll also get the newsletter this week as well on Wednesdays as usual. But I hope this is helpful. And I think this is a good time to talk about this topic, honestly, because this year has been crazy. This year has just been very, everything just seems to be urgent. Everything seems to be moving quickly. It seems to be hard to catch up with life just in general this year. So intentional pauses, I think, are so crucial and important just in our daily lives. And to be intentional about it and to plan these things out, I think are super important as well. Because when it comes to thinking about ways for you to better yourself, including pauses and including intentional ways of being present and being balanced and finding ways to, do that is super duper important. So I hope that this is helpful. I have a few how do I want to do this? Because I just have my notes, y'all. I really didn't organize it in a way, but I think what makes the most sense is to talk about why do we need to be intentional about our pauses, and then how we can be intentional about our pauses. I think I'll do it that way. And then I have, let's see, I have about 8 or 9 affirmations to share at the end, so that way you can take that away, with you. So of course, feel free to use them however you wish to. And by any means, I hope that it is helpful. What is going on here? I don't know what's going on. Okay. So when it comes to why it's important, why are intentional pauses important? Slowing down is essential for creating a sustained and balanced life, right? So, one thing that we try to figure out in life in general is just how can have my life be balanced. And even though I feel like the term a balanced life is not the easiest to accomplish, and I don't even think it actually can be accomplished, because I don't think anything in our lives is actually balanced. There's going to be some times where one side of one part of your life will be going well, and then another part of your life may not be going well. There may be a point of your life where everything is going well, and then all of a sudden everything just kind of crashes and goes down, and and nothing's going well. So the concept of a balanced life, I feel like, is I don't want to say a lie. It's just not necessarily something that you're going to be able to sustain on a day-to-day basis or throughout life. So what I want to kind of hone in on is finding a way to create or add those pauses to your life to slow things down. We're moving so quick. We're moving with urgency all of the time. We're always in a rush. We're always trying to, find ways to get to the next thing. Whereas taking time to pause and taking time to be intentional about that pause is what actually will sustain us. A lot of times we find ourselves in burnout and confusion and frustration and all of these different difficult and hard emotions because of the fact that we're not able to slow down and see things for what they are. When you're rushing, a lot of the time, you're going to miss the important details. You're going to miss the important pieces of your life that if you had taken the time to pause, you would have been able to catch, and also been able to even make a different decision or go in a different direction. So that's why intentional pauses are important. I don't know what happened to my music, y'all. But that's why intentional pauses are important. There is power in rest and realignment, and sometimes we operate in perfection, control, and urgency. It's okay to create space to nurture, to readjust, to reboot, and to restore. And when we actually are intentional about that, that can make all of the difference. I think a lot of times we find ourselves slowing down when we're already at capacity. Like when we're already stressed, when we're already burned out, we do it as a reactive measure versus a proactive measure. And I know I talk a lot on this channel about reactivity and proactiveness, but it's important because when it comes to any aspect of life, you have to have an element of it that you have something in place for when you need to react, but then you also have something in place that is more proactive to kind of balance things out. So that's why it's important. That's why it takes some time to even think about how you want to schedule your pauses in, because you may have to schedule those things. But it's more important than not, and I think it's more important now than ever. Okay, so some other reasons as to why or how intentional pauses can help. And I already alluded to it a little bit, but proactive emotional regulation. When it comes to emotional regulation, hi Maria, welcome in. When it comes to emotional regulation, there is a reactive side to this and a proactive side to this, right? So we all know how we react to emotional challenges, right? If something pops up, a situation happens, and we have an emotional response, we have to react to that emotional response in regards to our action and our behavior and how we're going to move after we feel those emotions. So that's one aspect of it. But the proactive aspect of it is if you are at a place where you have taken some intentional pauses, when these things arise, when these difficult situations or these difficult emotions arise, you are more centered, you're more focused, you're more rested. And when you are in that state of mind, your emotional regulation is, I don't want to say easier, but it's more manageable. A lot of times we have difficult emotions and difficult reactions because of the fact that we're already at urgent status. We're already hyped. We're already up here. But if we're actually taking the time to have these pauses, um, it allows you to put yourself in a different mindset than you would have been if you hadn't done the pause, right? So it helps with mindset shifts. It helps with perspective shifts. It also helps with honoring transitions and life changes, right? If you're not taking the time to navigate the changes that are happening in life, that you're not taking the time to navigate the life's transitions, and they can be small transitions or large transitions. A small transition could be, your schedule changed, and it's something that you're having to navigate with work now that even if it's like return to office, like that may be a smaller change, but that's definitely a change. So making adjustments in things in life, whether they're small or small minor ones like a schedule change, or a large one where you're getting married or you're getting divorced, or your children are leaving the home, or you're having a new child, like those are larger transitions. But if you're not taking the time to honor those transitions and to digest them and to allow yourself to process them, they start to build up to a point where it's hard for you to navigate your emotions for small and big things. Straw that breaks the camel's back. Yes, absolutely. No, I don't, unfortunately, just though I don't speak Spanish. So yeah, so this is definitely um, a big aspect of intentional pauses and allowing yourself to pause, honor transitions, honor your mindset, honor your perspectives, but adjust those things as you need. Pauses give you that space to do so. The next area is improving self-awareness and self-compassion. So like taking a pause heightens your awareness, helps you to understand your mindset, your heart, your emotions, your spirit, what your needs are, what your wants are, what your goals are. Like it gives you that space to understand and have more awareness surrounding those things. It also helps you improve communication. Um, Yes, definitely sounds good to prevent burnout. Absolutely, absolutely. It helps to improve communication as well. Like if you're more aware about you, if you're more aware about your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions and your heart and your state of mind, if you're more aware about those things, it allows you to communicate those things. It's hard to communicate things that you don't realize or don't pick up on, and they may come out in other ways. So you may find yourself displacing your anger or displacing your resentment or displacing your frustration on other people because you're not taking the time to be more aware about your feelings and emotions, which makes it more difficult to communicate what you need or what your desires are or where your head is. So the more aware you are of yourself, the easier it is for you to communicate with others. Um, and then leave space for kindness and curiosity, primarily with yourself, with that self compassion. It helps you to be more kind to yourself, to be curious about yourself, to really take the time to understand what's happening. And then that way you can be kind to yourself. You can show yourself that compassion. Um, Communication while in a heightened emotional state is often ineffective it's going to be ineffective for everybody because it's hard for you to, I said last week before that it's hard for you to articulate, what your desires and needs are if your emotions are up here. You can't see your that's what I said. You can't see your reflection in a boiling water, right? If the water is boiling, you can't look into the water and actually see yourself. You have to wait for the water to settle down for you to actually go in and look at your reflection. Hello, Trey, welcome in. So in order for you to see your reflection, you have to let the water to settle. It's the same thing with our emotions. Like in order for us to see our needs and what we're desiring and what we want and what's good for us, we can't be at a heightened emotional state. We have to be able to let the water stop boiling. So that's really what's crucial and important when thinking about emotional regulation and why intentional pauses are important. I think I already alluded to the next one, but that was better decision making. So quick decisions often come from impulse. Pausing lets you consider your options, your values, and your goals before taking action. You can't take straight. You can't think straight if you are always in a rush or operating in urgency or moving quickly. You miss the important details that are crucial and can make or break the decisions that we make. So crucial and important when it comes to better decision making. I also say when it comes to better decision making, like just your space in general, like pausing to clean your space, to clean your area. I feel like once my area is clean, once my area is organized, and I actually took the time to pause and do that, it makes it much easier for me to make decisions. I use that. It stops the impulse in buying. Yes, because impulse buying happens when you are emotional, right? When you feel like, even like impulse eating, like sometimes it's like, oh, I need to give myself a treat because this happened today. Or like, I want to go buy myself something nice because I deserve it because this happened today. And because our emotions are high and we're frustrated and we're confused and we just need some type of instant relief, we resort to impulse things like impulse eating or impulse shopping. So absolutely, absolutely. That was the point number 3, better decision making. The next one is gratitude and realignment. So it helps to prevent burnout, like we talked about earlier, recentering and refocusing. It helps us to remain present in the moment, and it leads to, which is the next point, makes room for intentional living. Right? Sometimes we are going through life and we're not living; we're just existing. We're just getting up, going to work, coming home, eating dinner, going to bed, waking up and doing it the next day. And there's no space for intentional living. There's no space for joy. There's no space for love. There's no space for peace. There's no space for laughter. There's no space for gratitude. And when you're able to actually give yourself the space to soak in those emotions, it allows you to let this other stuff kind of just roll off your back, and it allows you to, yeah, definitely smell the flowers. It gives you the chance to be present, coming home and seeing your kids and how beautiful they are, and just how the interactions that you have and the laughter that you can have, and sitting and watching TV with them. And one of the things that I did with my kids for my birthday is we went to what is it called, pottery, like one of the pottery classes with the spinning the wheel, and you do the clay throwing and all of that, and we had the greatest time. It was one of those times we didn't have our phones out. Our hands were messy and just all over the place, and it was just time that we got the chance to enjoy each other. And of course, I'm a mom. At some point, I found some time to take pictures, but but at that point, it's something that you have a new experience. It's something that I've never done with before, and it's not something my kids never done before. So it's a new experience that we did together, and they enjoyed it. They loved it, and they're teenagers. So it's like, listen, anytime a teenager enjoys something, I'm gonna stick with it. Okay, I'm gonna stick with it. But finding ways to just pause and just have a good time and enjoy yourself in new and exciting ways is a great way to have an intentional pause. Nice experiences are great for yeah, like having experiences. One of the things that I was thinking about doing with my daughter is like strawberry picking, like just something different, just something that's out of that's has nothing to do with electronics, has nothing to do with social media, just something where it's just us and that thing, and that's it. And finding ways to incorporate that into your everyday life. It doesn't have to be as huge as an experience, but even just a walk or a nature walk or going on a bike ride or whatever. It can look so many different ways. One of the things that I started trying to do was working out with no music, even though it is hard. But you'll be surprised of how much creativity happens when your body is moving and there's silence. Now, granted, this is when I work out from home. When I'm at the gym, I have to have some type of headphones. But when I'm working out at home, I don't play any music. I just work out. And like I said, there's so many ideas, there's so much information or even clarity or wisdom that comes with just your body movement and silence. And even though it was initially hard for me to do in the beginning, I've gained so much from it, because every time I walk away from working out with no music, I have a new idea, or I have a new thought that I could something else that I can do, or even it's something for my kids and parenting them, and I have an idea like, oh, maybe I can try this. There's so many ways that you can do that. And there's so many ways that you can create pauses within your current schedule. Because I think that's another thing too, is like people are like, oh, I'm so busy, I have so many things to do. But there's ways to include it in what you currently do. Personally, I like museum visits. Yeah, I just went to the Museum of Science and Industry for my birthday, and I just went and I just walked for about I won't say about 2.5 hours, but I had fun. I enjoyed it. I haven't seen any butterfly gardens. Like, I want to find one, but maybe there's one at the Botanical Garden. I'm in Chicago, by the way. So maybe there's one at the Botanical Garden, but butterfly gardens sound nice too. Okay, so we talked about like why intentional pauses are important. So how do we include intentional pauses in our daily life? I already started talking about this a little bit, but how we can include intentional pauses. Of course, we have the obvious of prayer, meditation, journaling. Like, those are the things that we commonly resort to when it comes to intentional pauses, which are all great and all things that, of course, I encourage to do, right? But some other things that you can do is to plan a day of stillness. This may be easier said than done for some people, but even if you have PTO, or you have, out of office hours, or even like a sick day. Listen, for mental health days, I use sick time for mental health days. Okay. Like, if I need it, I'm going to take it, because sickness isn't just physical. It can also be mental. And if we're mentally sick, you could take a sick day. Okay. But planning a day of stillness, no electronics, just space, right? Even if it's a half a day, even if it's you just get off early and you have a couple of extra hours just to be still and quiet. That is like so important. Taking the time to quiet the noise, and it doesn't even have to be in a traditional meditation state. It could just be everything is off, nothing is on, and maybe you take the time to kind of clean, or maybe you just take the time to go for like a hike or a walk or whatever, or you just sit in stillness. You sleep, you rest, you whatever that looks like for you. But having intentional days for pausing is important. It could be once a week. It could be 2 days a month, like however you feel like it will work in your schedule. But finding ways to plan a day of stillness. It doesn't have to be extravagant. Some people do a day of stillness at the spa, which is great. I do that too. I'll go to the spa. There's a spa out here that I can go and I can spend the day there. So I'll go there in the morning and I'll leave at like 5 p.m., 6 p.m. And it's just a day of just quiet. However you feel like it makes sense for you and your current lifestyle, but finding days of stillness is important. It helps you to regroup. It helps you to restore. It helps you to recenter. It helps you to bring things into perspective. It gives you the space to think through and strategically think about your next steps. I always like to include it if I feel burned out. If I feel burned out, day of stillness, automatically, right? So that's important. if it's not possible, because for some people it may not be possible to do a whole day of stillness. If it's not possible, one of the other ways that I do this is plan no rush days. So a no rush day is basically a day that I pick out where I am not going to rush at all. I'm going to get up when I want to. I'm going to go through, and if I do have things that I have to do that day, I'll do it in my own time. I'll go at my own pace. I'm not going to rush, because I found myself rushing for no reason. Like I would just be rushing just to be rushing, and I couldn't understand why. And it's just because I was used to being in that state. So I had to purposely force myself not to rush. So I call them no rush days. Maybe your no rush days are Sundays, where you get up when you want to. You get up and you may have errands, you may have things that you have to do, but you intentionally not rush. You take your time. Like when I leave out the house, I take my time walking to the car. I take my time getting in the car. Like I'm not going to rush, and I go and if I got to get gas, I take my time getting gas. I take my time at the store. I just go at the pace that I want to go. And that trains your brain to slow down. It trains your nervous system to slow down, because a lot of times us rushing and that urgency is a nervous system. It's our nervous system issue, where our nervous system is telling us that we have to rush because that's what it's used to doing. And we've conditioned our nervous systems to operate a certain way. And this is a way for us to retrain our nervous systems to think differently, and to operate differently. So no rush days are a big one for me. Next one, set brief pauses and reminders throughout the day. Or to find ways to pause between activities, right? So if you are coming home from work, find a way to pause between work and home life. That may be sitting in the car for 10 minutes before going in the house. Like that may be, when you get in the house, you take a quick shower or whatever before you actually start transitioning to home life. Finding ways to incorporate it in your everyday, or it could be as simple as setting a reminder on your phone, maybe 3 reminders throughout the day to remind you to take a breath. I used to do that when I worked in office, where I would get a notification and that would remind me to do some deep breathing, right? And it got so crazy because my alarm would go off, and it was like a nicer alarm. It wasn't like a crazy alarm, but my alarm would go off in the office, and everybody in the office would know, like, oh, Debbie has to do her pause. And then people started doing the pause with me. So it just kind of happened that way. But trying to find ways to incorporate it into your life, even if you are that busy, it could be as simple as a reminder. And then there's a short little type post that you were reminding me of. It's called Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. Haven't heard of that. But yeah, it's definitely, when it just comes to mindfulness in general, pauses are a big aspect of it, because you can't be mindful without stopping. Like there's no way for you to be mindful of what's happening internally and externally if you don't slow down and stop. But it sounds like it may be if it's Big Panda or Tiny Dragon, it sounds like it may be like a mindfulness concept. But yeah, that was, one last one. When it comes to intentional pauses, how you can pause, honor your difficult emotions or tough days with compassion. Just simply noticing that today was a bad day, or today wasn't the greatest day, or today started out rough, but it got a little bit better, but it started out rough. Or if you are going through the day and you just feel off, like you ever have those days where you just like, I don't feel right. Like I feel frustrated and confused and annoyed, and everything everybody says is just annoying to me at this point. I'm super frustrated. I'm super burnt out. Taking time to honor those emotions, taking time to honor the fact that you had a tough day, and giving yourself space to process that day. because a lot of times we don't process our tough days, and it bleeds into the next day, and then it bleeds into the next day, and then you look up and a whole week has gone by, and now that one bad day turned into a bad week. So just finding ways to honor the emotions, the difficult emotions that you're having, and not even just the difficult emotions, the great emotions, the beautiful emotions that you experience, taking time to honor those moments. If you had a graduation and you were just super proud of whoever graduated, taking time to honor that is another way to pause as well. Hurry, squeak, tiny dragon. There is so much to do. The river doesn't hurry. The big panda, yet despite many obstacles, is always gets where it's going. Interesting. Interesting. I'll have to look that up. I'll have to look that up and see exactly like what the breakdown is. Definitely interesting though. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Awesome, Maria. Okay, so that is the overview of how do we include intentional pauses, and then also how or why is it important. So I have affirmations for you guys to take away. Sorry, I've been talking all day, y'all. So I have some affirmations to take away for you guys to take away. Feel free to use these affirmations however you wish to. Yeah, I always leave with affirmations. I always leave you guys with affirmations every week. So there are, I want to say about 9 affirmations that you guys can take away today. Feel free to write them down however you wish to. I always say to write them down just so that way you can keep them in a journal, or if you want to put them on post-it notes. I love post-it notes. I have affirmations all over the place with post-it notes. Or if you want to take the time to like review them and change the language, feel free to do that. If it doesn't sound like how you would say it, feel free to tweak it or make it true for you. And then also too, you can feel free to use them to record yourself saying them. That's one technique that you can use. Sometimes people don't want to necessarily write it, but they want to hear it. So recording yourself saying them is a great way to use affirmations, or just reciting them in the mornings. However you wish to, feel free. But I hope that these affirmations are helpful. I'm going to start with the first one. I used to put affirmations on my phone memo pads on my home screen. Oh, yeah, that's a good thing, too. You can do it that way, or you can set a reminder in your phone and put affirmations, like random affirmations as reminders. I used to do that too, like for work. Like I would put work affirmations that would pop up on my phone every once in a while. But there also are apps. Like you can have like the I Am app. I like to personalize it because I like to pick my own affirmations. But there's like a few apps that you can use that will also send you like notifications for affirmations. I think the I Am app, and I think there's like one other one. There's a few. The I Am app is the one I use often. But the first affirmations, yes. It's the one that I used it's called I Am. I haven't used it that much recently because I just started doing my own like personal ones. But that if you want something simple that you can just download and then we'll just send you different affirmations every day, you can use that. Okay, so the first affirmation I have is I am allowed to pause without guilt. Simply being is enough. I am allowed to pause without guilt. Simply being is enough. I am allowed to pause without guilt. Simply being is enough. So sometimes we don't pause because we feel guilty, because we feel like if we pause, we're going to miss the mark somewhere else. And even if that there is an element of that truth, pausing is more important. If you feel like you need to pause, then pause. If you feel like you need a break, then break. If you feel like you need to rest, then rest. It is super important because of the fact that rest is also productive. Okay? I say that all the time. I feel redundant, but I feel like it also needs to be said often, is that it needs to be done. Rest needs to be done. It is productive. Okay? So that's affirmation number 1. Affirmation number 2 The pauses in my journey are a part of my divine purpose. The pauses in my journey are part of my divine purpose. The pauses in my journey are part of my divine purpose. So in the pause, God teaches us in the quiet, right? You're being prepared, you're being refined, you're being realigned for your purpose. And that can't happen without a pause. You can't hear without a pause, right? If you are talking to someone and they start talking back to you and you continue to talk, you can't hear what they saying if you're continuing to talk. And a lot of times we're spending a lot of time either talking or on social media, or we're watching things, and we're immersed with so many different things happening at a time. It's hard to quiet the noise, right? So if we intentionally pause, that allows us to realign ourselves and get back on the track that we want to be on. Even pauses, you may be currently on that track, but you may be kind of veering off because of whatever's happening. So it just kind of brings you back. So the pauses in my journey are part of my divine purpose. It's important for us to stay on track. We have to pause, right? And just because we're walking down a road and we stop, it doesn't mean that we're no longer on the road. It just means that we stopped. We paused, and then once we are ready to get our little drink, get our little rest, and we get back up and we just keep going on the road. It's not until you are running down the road and you veer off to another road that you're now completely off track because we were moving too fast. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The pauses in my journey are a part of my divine purpose. Number 3, stillness gives me the ability to listen to pieces of myself I often ignore. Stillness gives me the ability to listen to pieces of myself I often ignore. Stillness gives me the ability to listen to pieces of myself I often ignore. What are the things about yourself that you ignore? What are the things about yourself that you dismiss? What are the things about yourself that you say you'll handle it later? Stillness gives you the chance to really process those things. Those may be difficult things to process. Those may be difficult things to think about. Those may be difficult things, and maybe that's where the avoidance and the ignorance comes from, right? But stillness gives you the ability to approach those areas and pieces of ourselves that we ignore, that we dismiss and think that are not there. And they often are the reasons why we find ourselves burned out in the first place. We find ourselves burned out and frustrated and confused and lacking clarity and places of uncertainty, because a lot of the times is because we're ignoring pieces of ourselves that need attention. And the more that we're able to really be still and give ourselves the attention that we need, even in those pieces of ourselves that are scary, even in those pieces of ourselves that we don't want to talk about, those pieces of ourselves that are our secrets, that are internal secrets, those things that we hide in our hearts, the more that we're able to remove that fear and face those things head on, the more that we'll be able to grow, the more that we'll be able to succeed, the more that we'll be able to heal. And we can't heal if we're not still and really take on those difficult pieces of ourselves, right? So this one may be a tough one to digest, but it's important. It's important for us if we're really looking for growth, if we're really looking for healing. I think we talked about this, was it the last session, or it might be the session before, where we're talking about just being really forward with ourselves and being honest with ourselves of where we need to grow and where we need to be better. This is the beginning of that stillness, awareness, processing. Like, this is the beginning of that. So stillness gives me the ability to listen to pieces of myself I often ignore. Number 4, I can bloom quietly. My growth does not have to be loud, but consistent. I can bloom quietly. My growth does not have to be loud, but consistent. I can bloom quietly. My growth does not have to be loud, but consistent. Okay? Just because you're in stillness, just because you're in a quiet place, just because you're in a waiting period, just because you're in a space of just sitting, doesn't mean that you're not growing. And I think because we don't necessarily see the growth on the outside, right? Our environment may look a certain way, our appearance may look a certain way, our careers, our ambitions, our goals, our progress to goals may look a certain way. And because they look that way, we feel like we're not growing. We feel like we're not healing. We feel like we're not getting better. And so understanding that growth does happen under the earth, right? So if you think about a plant and we put it into the ground, or we put a seed into the ground, we may not see the evidence of that seed, right? It may take a couple of days, but under the ground, under the dirt, there is growth happening. It's happening, and then eventually one day it's going to peer its little head, and it's like, oh, there goes my plant. And all that time though, for the past 10 days or the past 8 days or whatever, we didn't see anything. We thought that there was no growth happening. The same thing that happens with us, right? We may see on the outside that maybe I'm not growing, or maybe I'm not getting better, or my situation isn't getting any better. But there is growth that happens internally that you may not see all of the time. And your growth may not be loud, but one day you're going to look up, you're like, oh, you know what? I handled that differently. Good job, Debbie. Pat yourself on the back, girl. So like there's blooming, and what it's saying is I can bloom quietly. I can grow quietly. I can grow internally. I can get better within myself. And just because I don't necessarily see it, or other people don't see it, or people try to remind me of who I used to be, doesn't mean that there's no growth there. So I can bloom quietly. My growth does not have to be loud, but consistent. And that's what most important. As long as you're consistently working on yourself, as long as you're consistently thinking about, or even just pondering and being more aware and becoming more aware of who you are and what your needs are, and what your, where your growth can be or will be, that consistency is what's most important. Because honestly, if you're not consistent, are you really growing, or can you really grow, right? So just understanding that everything's not going to be visual. You're not going to see it all the time. Exactly like a lotus, a year underneath the mud only to emerge from the muddy water, beautiful and untouched by the mud. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're not going to always see your growth, and other people are not always going to see your growth until something happens where it's evident, right? So just understand that if just because you don't see it right now doesn't mean that it's not happening. Doesn't mean that you're not getting better, and doesn't mean that it can't get better. Just things happen at its own pace and at its own time. Just allow it to happen. Okay? What number was that, y'all? That was number 4. Number 5. In this pause, I find space for clarity, new perspectives, and intentionality. In this pause, I find space for clarity, new perspectives, and intentionality. In this pause, I find space for clarity, new perspectives, and intentionality. So giving yourself, even when you're thinking about pausing, right? Giving yourself something to pause on is also a good thing to do. Sometimes you may just pause and just be like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just need a break. It could be that. But also, if you feel like you find yourself in a state of confusion, or a state of uncertainty, or in a state of decision making where you're not having, things aren't clear, things are muddy, things are foggy, you're not quite sure the direction to go, having intentionality surrounding a pause is also very helpful, especially if you have heightened emotions, you need new perspective, you need to shift your mindset. Again, you need clarity, you're lacking certainty. That's why this would be particularly important, of being very intentional about your pause and what it is you want to get out of your pause. That was number 5. Number 6, this pause is not wasted time, but intentional wisdom. This pause is not wasted time, but intentional wisdom. This pause is not wasted time, but intentional wisdom. Sometimes we can't pause because we feel like it's a waste. We feel like, oh my gosh, like if I pause now, then this won't happen or this won't get done, and then all of everything will fall apart. Not necessarily. Is it really? Is it really? If you pause for one day, or if you pause for 5 minutes, or if you pause for, a half a day or an hour, what is that really going to, what kind of detriment is that really going to bring? I think we sometimes overestimate pauses as being detrimental to whatever, goal or whatever we're trying to accomplish. And because of that, we don't pause at all. And then we end up getting burned out and end up needing to take a break anyway. And typically that break is going to be much, much longer than you would have anticipated if we had paced ourselves with small pauses throughout the way. So don't allow yourself to talk you out of your pause. You can have productive pauses. It's not necessarily you just go to sleep. You can have a productive pause. Like I said, working out with, no music, or going for a walk instead of sitting and watching a TV show. Finding ways to incorporate it in your day to where it's not taking away too much, but it's making a difference. It's making an impact in your day. Having an intentional pause every day, I think, is important. It may be harder for some than others to do that, but finding a way to pause, even if it's, like I said earlier, taking a shower when you get home from work, before you do anything else, before you do anything with home or anything like that, come home, take a shower, whether it be like 10-minute shower or whatever, just to decompress and pause and to think about your day and to let go of the day, shake off the day, and then change your clothes and then go into your home stuff. You know what I mean? Or even for me, I'm in school. For those you who watch, I'm in graduate school for counseling. But I also work full time. So I may have to, do my work, and I work from home too. So do my work at my desk and then get up and walk away for an hour before class. Maybe get up and eat, or maybe go for a walk, or, go, jump on my Peloton for like 20 minutes just to kind of decompress and then jump in to class. So like having a transition, like, I don't like to say ritual, but having like a transition plan or a transition schedule where you have something in place that you do religiously every day to allow yourself to mindfully transition from one state to the next. I think that's the easiest way to incorporate it in your everyday. But having something tangible that you can do to help you with those pauses is important. If you work out in the morning, maybe it's your drive to the gym. Like maybe drive with no music. So that way you have some silence, and that way you can just kind of decompress. I know that sometimes we think music helps, and it does, but then there's sometimes where you just need silence, like nothing, air. That's all you need. Wind, if you're driving, turn off the music and roll the windows down. Let the sun beat, open up the sunroof, let the sun beat down, let the wind kind of blow through your hair, like just something to kind of help you to decompress and pause. And where were we at? That was number 5. I think I have 3 more, right? No, I was number 6. Yeah, I have 3 more. So I'm at 7 now. So number 7, I trust that presence is, oh, wait, hold on. Oh, I trust that being present is more powerful than perfection. I trust that being present is more powerful than perfection. I trust that being present is more powerful than perfection. I'm going to correct it in my notes. But being present is powerful. It's powerful only because it allows you to connect with what's currently happening. And the more that you're able to do that, the more you'll be able to live and have intentional living. A lot of times we are not intentionally living because we're either living in the past or we're living in the future. There is no present. We're always worried about the next thing. We're always worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. We're always worried about what's happening next week. We're always trying to schedule out our plan. We're always thinking about that. Or we're always beating ourselves up about our past. We're always thinking about what should have been, what could have been, what we would have done. We're always thinking about, what people that we did have in our lives and why they left us. We're always thinking about resentment and bitterness and unforgiveness and not wanting to forgive people and not wanting to let situations go. And we're always thinking about the past, or we're always thinking about the future. We're never thinking about what's happening in the now. And the more that you can train your brain to focus on what's currently happening, and again, this is easier said than done, because I know that we live our lives in goal setting or thinking about what's coming in the future. So the more that we can focus on and trusting the present and trusting where we are currently, the more we can practice gratitude, the more that we can experience peace and experience love and can experience all of these joyous, beautiful things that are happening. And a lot of times we are missing it. We're missing what's currently happening. So I trust that being present is more powerful than perfection is the aspect of a lot of times we think about how we can be better, how we can do better. And even though it's a good thought to have, we engulf ourselves in that to the point where we can't even just live life, right? So finding ways to be present, finding ways to think about what you're doing in the moment that you're doing it. I know that there's times we may drive home and not know how we got home. Like, I don't even know. I left work. I ended up at the house. I don't know how I got here. Like, I didn't pay any attention to the drive. Like, it just, muscle memory, right? So finding ways to be present with where you are, whether they're big or small things, and not multitasking. Now, granted, this one, me, talking to myself. Multitasking is the worst way of trying to be present, okay? Because you're trying to do multiple things at one time. And granted, some people are really great multitaskers. I would say I'm really good multitasker, even though it doesn't work out the best all the time, most of the time. Multitasking works for me, but I had to start slowing down my multitasking because you can't be present if you're trying to focus on 4 or 5 different things at one time. So even being present, if it's scaling back your multitasking and giving things your attention a little bit more, that's the beginning. Okay. So that was number 7. I trust that being present is more powerful than perfection. 2 more. Number 8, I will be kind to myself on days when discipline feels hard. I will be kind to myself on days when I think on my wording on this. I will be kind to myself on days that discipline feels hard. I think when is okay. Sorry, y'all, my grammar. I'll keep it when. I will be kind to myself on days when discipline feels hard. I will be kind to myself on days when discipline feels hard. This goes back to self-compassion, because a lot of times we get so frustrated with ourselves because we are trying to be disciplined in a particular area and it doesn't work out. And because of that, we end up in a spiral or in a burnout, and it creates more difficulty, and then we just give up altogether, and then our impulses take over, right? Because a lot of times we struggle with discipline because we have impulses, and because of those impulses, we those impulses may be detrimental to our lives. They may create tension, or they may create frustrations, and because we have a day where discipline is just not working, we beat ourselves up about it. So that goes back to the self-compassion aspect of a pause, and taking a pause to really be kind to ourselves, and to show ourselves kindness and compassion and love without judgment, because we spend a lot of time judging ourselves, and sometimes we're our worst critic. So that was number 8. I will be kind to myself on days when discipline feels hard. And lastly, I am proud of myself and excited for the person I am becoming. I am proud of myself and excited for the person I am becoming. I am proud of myself and excited for the person I am becoming. And this is another just self-compassion. Like, if you are not where you want to be, but are on that task, you're on that journey, right? That's something to be proud of yourself for. The fact that you want to be better, the fact that you want to be better prepared for life, the fact that you want to be more balanced, the fact that you want to have growth, and you want to be healthy, and you want to heal, that in itself is a reason to be proud, okay? There are a lot of people that are walking through life that could care less. They are jerks. They are not healthy. They are not healing, and they could care less, right? The fact that you're not in that state, and you understand that you want to be better, that you want to heal, that you want to grow, that you want to be a better version of yourself, that in itself is a reason to be proud of yourself, right? So I am proud of myself and excited for the person I am becoming, right? That's a reminder of self-compassion. That's a reminder of self-kindness, especially when it comes to even thinking about pauses. Having something like that in your back pocket, having an affirmation like that in your back pocket, is always a great reminder that, yes, I may not be where I want to be, but I am on the verge of being where I want to be. And even if I don't necessarily hit the mark every time, because we're human, right? And this is basically a human experience, a common human experience of wanting to grow and wanting to be better and be a better version of ourselves. And so it may not look great all the time. It may be a little muddy. It may get frustrating. It may be disappointing. You may disappoint yourself. Others may disappoint you. But in that, understanding that just the fact that you have a heart of wanting to be better, you have a heart to want to be a better version of yourself, you have a heart to want to experience joy and love and peace, and you want the others, other people around you to experience that same thing, is a lot more than what some people are experiencing right now. So the fact that you want that and you desire that, and that you're here today listening to me talk for 58 minutes is showing that you should be proud of yourself. So I hope that's helpful. That discipline one is something I need. Me too, girl. Me too. I'm not perfect, y'all. Like I said, I'm still in the process of learning and evolving, especially with me being in this program. Like I said, I am a certified mindfulness coach, but will be starting my practicum in therapy soon. So I'm excited. I'll be going into practicum and then my internship, and hopefully we'll be certified and licensed by within a year. So I'm excited for that. But even in myself, I'm still growing and getting better and becoming a better version of myself. And I hope that as I grow, that you guys grow with me, I got the app. I'm really happy that it does have a widget, and it will pop up, like, it has it to where it, like, well, you can set notifications, or you can just have the widget. I think I have both, where it would send me a notification, like certain notifications, like you can time it, But yeah, I actually loved it. I think I ended up just shutting it off because I got to a point where all of the affirmations were starting to be like a little redundant. So I just started doing my own. But I think it's a great tool. I had it for a while. Okay, y'all. So I hope this was helpful. I hope that this is brings and sheds some light for intentional pauses. I know this is like a longer live, but I hope that this was helpful. Feel free to watch the playback. The playback should be up soon. And yeah, we will be back. We won't be back. You're welcome, Hiru. We won't be back next Monday because I'll be out of town for the holiday. But we will be back the last Monday of April. Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm waiting for my practicum site to be confirmed. And then when my practicum site is confirmed, it's all going. I'll be sitting with clients. So I'm excited. But yeah, so next week, no live. We'll have the live. Our last live in April will be the last Monday in the month. I don't think that we had any more. No, I don't think we had any more topics. So I will post a topic, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. I'll post some topics for you guys to vote on. So definitely look for the post to vote on the next topic. And then if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, definitely go to haveninspired.com, sign up for the newsletter. That way you get the mindfulness newsletter every Wednesday. And look out for the new meditation for this week. And make sure I'm not missing anything. And yeah, guys, I'm also starting to do workshops. So if you guys have any corporate, I will travel. So if you have any, primarily for corporations, so I do mindfulness for the workplace and all of these other stuff. So if you want me to come visit, or even for your personal events, if you want to do like a mindfulness or a meditation session for a personal event, feel free to let me know. You can email me at info@haveninspired.com. Otherwise, y'all have a great rest of your evening. I appreciate you. And I will see you all soon. Bye.